Alrighty, so this is chapter 3 of the lieutenant or the lieutenant, depending on who you ask. So I'm calling it chapter 3, but we're not really numbered our chapters in this book, but just to give us an idea, this is sort of the latter half of part 1 before we jump into part 2 in a moment. So page 38, we're going to start there. We've got, apologies for the banging, quadrupeds, birds, ants and their habitations, and a visit by the Endeavour. So basically just keep in mind italics, we're keeping an eye on those, and your task and your kind of thought process is to decide, apart from the obvious ones like Endeavour and Sirius, or place names, which are obviously just proper nouns and therefore they get italicised. Usually this is like a reference to a text or something that someone has said, and I guess the whole point is that our main character is very language focused, so if someone says something to him once, he seems to retain that as kind of like a very important thing, so he keeps them close to him, and his world is sort of made up of these kind of italic quote aspects. I underlined while I was speaking, one piece of the smooth machinery of the world moving in harmony with another. So I might actually get rid of that because it's annoying sounding. But I'm drawing a cog for the sort of colonial machine that he's a part of. And occasionally I'm going to draw a little pyramid, a hierarchical pyramid, when he's talking especially about kind of ranking and who ranks where and who's the boss and who's the Commodore and how dare someone speak to the Commodore and things like that. So just going to get this out of the way. Alright, so we're on 39, once it focuses. Mr. Debret of Piccadilly has promised me Silk Road, whatever you can give us from New South Wales we will publish. Those were his words and I do not intend to disappoint him. So Silk, of course, is his kind of offsider, his partner, his foil. So basically, if you think of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, they are foils to one another. The foil basically just means two characters that are kind of used to shine a light on the other. So most of these early chapters, the discussion is around things such as Silk is like this, whereas I and Rooke am like this, or me, Rooke, is like this, and Silk is like that. So they sort of work together to kind of contribute to one another's characterization. So it's kind of a classic feature of characterization. It's a very specific type of technique, but if you want, you could talk about Rooke and Silk being foils for one another and explore in what ways they're different and how that kind of emphasizes their difference and their challenge, I guess. So as you can see on the screen, we've got kind of the annotation guide on the left-hand side. You should probably watch that annotation guide video to work out what all of these things mean. And I probably should as well to remind myself, but we're going to annotate language. And what I might actually do is highlight this section over there as well. And maybe even here. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy. You sort of want to be only highlighting those things that are, that you can imagine using in an essay and so forth, but there it is anyway. So the elegance of its phrases, the flexing of its shape. So again, this is our kind of foil exploration. For Silk, the making of the tail was the point of the exercise. And in many respects, Rooke would agree in terms of the journey, not the destination. But top of page 40, I will not take no for an answer, Silk wrote. So again, he's writing his letters, he's writing that he sort of wants to be famous, I guess. So that's kind of his approach. The sky is different here, so I've got a little astronomy. I don't know why, but I think my astronomy symbol is kind of like, they believed that the sky was like a bowl sitting over the world at some point. I don't know if that was in this time or not, but obviously Rooke sees it differently. And then we've got, she was not stupid, only clever enough to recognise the limits of what she understood. So that's kind of our knowledge part. So let's see, I'm guessing that Anne is his sister. Yep, okay, so kind of his sister provides really interesting anecdotes about kind of what knowledge is and how there are different kinds of knowledge, and that's sort of something that he knows from Silk as well, the different ways that they work. I've got a poor drawing of sort of red coat with the buttons, which is our symbol. I don't know, it could almost be a motif. I'd probably move it over into the motif category because it happens all the time. I especially can remember the section where they're in the forest and they're kind of, even though it's stinking hot and they're sort of splodging through the water, they're still wearing their coats for a long time. So this section is when he took out the red jacket again for the first time, he felt a swell of nausea. So for him, it doesn't actually bring him joy, it brings him like disgust. It feels like something that he shouldn't be doing, but also at the same time, kind of it's such a good opportunity for him to be successful as well in this role.